Hello, welcome to All About Cliff Burton. Today we're going to be talking about why Cliff Burton is so influential and the mark that he has left on the bass and overall musical world.
So, Cliff Burton.
Yes, why was he so influential? Why was he so amazing? If that solo didn't already sum that up.
I mean, that just says it all, really, doesn't it?
To me, that is one of the most amazing pieces of bass ever written. And to play that on a bass is quite a challenge in itself. Like, obviously, guitar solos are challenging anyway, but to play things like that and be daring enough to actually do it on a bass is in itself pretty incredible.
Yeah, and in the context as well, I mean, it's a metal band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's always sad that like those early records are kind of mixed so trebly.
I know, yeah. I wish you could hear him more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are versions out there now that's boosted the bass, and you can hear him more, and they sound way more fuller. Because obviously Kirk and James' guitars were quite thin.
Yeah.
And they had to triple track them.
Yeah.
To get them big enough. But
the thing is as well about his tone. Again, that was quite unusual. He was using guitar pedals at the time because bass pedals didn't really exist back then, or not many of them. So most of his sound was coming from guitar pedals, and he did have a very guitar-y kind of a sound.
Yeah, but it was such a harmonically musical way of playing.
Yeah.
Like that first bend.
Yeah.
It's got such a vocal quality to it.
It has, it sings.
It's not like, with a guitar where you go, wah! Like that, and the legs go up and, go crazy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And his sense of melody and harmony was just out of this world to me. That solo actually has a harmony also done on bass. It goes along with it. Obviously, unfortunately, you can't do that because I can only play one bass at one time.
And I'm not good enough to play the other part of the bass, so.
I'm sure you are. But that, going along with that, the way... You've got the lead melody and then the harmony melody. The way that fits over the guitar chords is just stunning. And it was quite an unusual sense of melody as well. He loved his triads.
Yeah, indeed. Big Thin Lizzy fan, big classical music fan.
Yeah.
Always remember Kirk and James saying when they were recording, they would be like, how do we do a harmony? I don't know. Let's ask Cliff. He'll know. And Cliff would then write it all down and notate it. And just extraordinarily.
It was him that was coming up with a lot of the harmonies from Metallica.
Yeah, it was. And it's so clever. I remember Kirk saying something like, oh, that sounds like Thin Lizzy. And like Cliff was like, yeah, I love Thin Lizzy. That's where I get some of this stuff from.
Yeah. And classical music, again, Dave mentioned his influence of classical music. The song Damage Inc. is actually Cliff's bass at the intro. So that entire intro is made just of layers and layers of Cliff's bass. With a kind of fading in on a wah and kind of building up the layers of the harmony. But apparently, I don't know how true this is, apparently that is Sleepers Awake, or Sleepers Wake, depending on where you are, by Backwards. Bark.
Woof!
It's that, backwards. So how true that is, I don't know, but that would kind of fit in with his love of classical music.
True, but it's absolutely one of the most stunningly gorgeous intros to like a metal song.
Yeah.
And I say, Damage Inc. isn't exactly light.
No, it's not. That's one of my favourite Metallica songs.
Yeah.
That's also one of my favourite bits of Cliff's playing. I could literally cry when I hear that intro. It's just... If you don't know it, you should go and listen to it. It's right at the start of the song and it's totally isolated, so it's a good way to hear Cliff's playing just in isolation.
The sad thing about Cliff, I feel about Cliff like the same way I feel about people like Jeff Buckley and Jimi Hendrix. All these kind of like musicians who were starting to get somewhere and never got a chance. Jason Becker, Nick Drake, all these people, they had a voice of their own, and it was just cut horrifically short, not fair.
Yeah.
Because what could they have gone on to do? What music would a Metallica made if Cliff had lived? And it's always what if?
Yeah.
We'll never know, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Really.
I always think I wish we got to see where he took the bass, because to me, it was like the Jimi Hendrix of bass. He was really pushing it. Obviously, you got people like Jacko who are extremely like influential and pushed the bass in new directions. But I feel Cliff was pushing in a direction in a different way to Jacko, and it was a totally new world. And I just wish we got to see.
I always feel that like Jacko is the Jimi Hendrix of guitar, and Cliff Burton's the Eddie Van Halen.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
If that makes sense, because like you always had like Jimmy like took the guitar up here, and then Jacko took the bass up there, and then Eddie Van Halen took it further on the guitar, and then Cliff came along and took the bass further.
Yeah, that is a very good way to put it. Yeah, so very, very influential. As for his pedalboard setup as well, he had it in a kind of a weird order.
Yeah.
So he had, obviously everyone knows he was a massive Morley Wah fan. I don't have one in today, so I'm using the Crybaby.
We have a Morley Wah, but it didn't, it's not a power wah.
Yeah, it's not the one that we need. So we've got the Crybaby, but just ignore that fact.
We'll just write Morley on it. They'll never know.
He would run the DS1, then the Crybaby or Morley Wah, and then the Ibanez Tube Screamer. So it's kind of in a weird order, but it gives it this kind of like throaty, crazy sound.
Well, demonstrate that for us. So the Tube Screamer was on all the time, wasn't it? So, show us what like the bass tone is without the Ibanez, then whack on the Ibanez, show us that, and then show us what happens when your DS1 with the Crybaby. Show us that.
That's what it does.
Yeah, that's what that does. Yeah, that's evil.
Yeah.
And again, stuff like that, using the triads and the chords and using the wah to accentuate things. That's not real. Jacko didn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacko used distortion. You hear him in his solos using distortion, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
That's definitely more of a kind of like guitarist approach, but not the guitarist approach.
Yeah.
Because using
it's really
notes,
unusual.
Yeah, using notes and harmonies that guitarists would not necessarily use.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool.
It is. Again, I should say as well, this video obviously is not about getting his tone per se. We do have a video on that. But this is more about why he was influential and so loved, and why so many people have been influenced by him, and what kind of a mark he's left on the world.
And you got like things like For Whom a Bell Tolls as well. I mean, that's a very iconic bass intro.
Yeah, I mean, let's...
I had to grab the guitar.
Oh, turn off what?
Sorry, I had to grab. I had to join in on that one. That was totally unplanned and unrehearsed. That wasn't meant to happen, but it just did. So all's well. Okay, so.
Oh, it's so much fun that.
It is.
Again, that to me is the most evil sounding metal riff ever.
It is
in my
proper.
Personal opinion.
It is. I mean, it's like that is the da-na-na-na. Everyone knows da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Those trills he does in the live one as well, like the. It's just
Yeah.
That's not a bassist thing to do.
No.
It's epic.
Is it the beginning of Anesthesia where it's like bass solo and you hear him turn his pedals on? It's
Yeah.
just wah!
Yeah, bass solo take one.
Yeah, bass solo take one, and he's just like a mass wall of noise because
Yeah.
you hear him turn like something, and then something else, and then the wah goes on.
Yeah.
And because it's wah back, isn't it, a lot? But that's another thing as well, is that use of wah wah, how he used it to like accentuate and sweep and kind of like that's again ahead of his time.
Yeah, absolutely ahead of his time. That is the thing. Even with the more kind of like bassliney stuff he did, not just the solos, it's just really unusual. So I'll play one of my favourite kind of more bassliney bass lines he plays. And you can hear what I mean if you don't know it already. This is Ride the Lightning. So.
It's all those fills. I mean, all the guitars are doing is going down.
Yeah.
Just big chords.
Yeah, like
insane.
it is. And the way it works musically with the guitars as well, and kind of holds it up.
Yeah, I'll join in on the outro. We'll do that as an outro.
Yeah, you can hear how it slots in, but in isolation as well, he would hit the bass so hard. And I think that's kind of what gives it the sound it has as well, in terms of how angry and evil it sounds. But he was such a fast player as well. Like, his right hand technique was outstanding. Yeah.
And how he played as well, his right hand is a really unique technique.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like anybody else.
He had quite big hands as well. So he would rest his hand kind of on the top of the bass like this.
Yeah.
And kind of play like this, which feels really strange.
He's just a monster.
Yeah.
But there's that version of For Whom a Bell Tolls, isn't there? And what was it? Is it? I can't remember what it's called.
Which one?
The one where they're on a big stage and Cliff does his song before To Whom a Bell Tolls.
Yeah.
And he starts playing beforehand, and they're like, James goes, "Here's Cliff, say hi, Cliff," and he just starts playing, and you can get really good close up of his right hand and how he plays.
Yeah.
And the man's just a monster.
Yeah.
Really is. I don't think, personally, there's been a bass player who plays like him since him. Again, it's like Jacko. Everyone emulates Jacko, but no one plays like Jacko.
Yeah.
And they're like, people who play like Cliff don't play like Cliff.
Yeah.
It's much in the same way of like, everyone finds, through emulation, you find yourself.
Exactly.
But I don't really know where Cliff came from. It's like, where did Jimi Hendrix come from? Where did Jacko come from? Where did,
They're anomalies.
Yeah, it's like, all of a sudden these guys appear out of the woodwork with their own thing. They haven't taken from anybody, they are just them. Whereas the rest of us mere mortals have to take from
Exactly.
Like
he would do like tapped harmonics on the bass as well, which I'll see if I can actually do that.
Which is great.
Yeah, and again, it's not something that even now most bass players tend to do.
That's more of a guitarist thing, because Eddie was doing that.
Yeah.
He would do kind of, if you'll indulge me, I threw my pick, but I don't need it, which is great. But if you'll indulge me, like Eddie would do those tapped harmonic things, where he would do like. Those, that's basically that same kind of thing, and Eddie was doing that in the 70s. And obviously you got, But so it's more of a guitar kind of technique, really. Yeah. Really cool, really cool.
It is. And again, like, to pull off certain things on a bass, not being guitar, is kind of difficult as well. Obviously, they can be done.
Yes. I'm loving these chairs, by the way.
Too.
Yeah. Anyway, Count Dave Lock. Anyway, but that is it's just a bit, and again, the use of mass distortion, the wah, again, when you put distortion on the input side of a wah-wah pedal, and have like, you know, so it goes from like, you know, your bass to the distortion to the wah, and then like an overdrive, you get like, I always call it super wah.
Yeah.
It acts more like a filter than actual wah, because you have more frequencies.
Yeah, you do.
Because if we were to dime out the tube screamer here, and you try the wah now, I mean that's not bad, but if we then combine the two,
Yep.
you can hear the difference. The wah goes, it just goes absolutely mental, and the fact that he did that and knew that.
Yeah.
Because again, there are these certain rules that people abide by that are just non-rules. They're not rules.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, this is the way you've got to have pedals, or this is the way you've got to have your amp, or this is where you've got to. And it's people like Cliff and Jimi Hendrix and Jaco Pastorius and Eddie Van Halen who basically go, you know,
No.
no, I'm not doing it because I don't like that. I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, tough luck. And again, so
yeah,
if you
so
kick
you get-
on the DS1 now. The sweep on that is so
Yeah.
much more emphasising that.
It is. It's got more of a voice.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
sings more. And again, how Cliff would use it, like some of that anesthesia is just like heel back.
Yeah.
Again, very Jimi Hendrix. Not using the wah to just go wah 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 wah
Yeah.
wah wah. Using it literally as a tonal sweep.
Yeah,
'Cause
as an expression.
Exactly, because there's some things in Jimi Hendrix where he literally kicks the wah on for one note and then turns it off again.
Yeah.
Before the first solo in Voodoo Child, Slight Return, he turns the wah pedal on, hits all the open strings, turns it off, and then starts soloing.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it's people like that just kind of make our instruments go further. And Cliff was just one of those.
He absolutely
was.
was, yeah. So hopefully I've kind of done an okay job at demonstrating some of the amazing stuff he does, but he was just incredible. Again, so his sense of harmony, his sense of rhythm, his technique, his
Melody.
melody.
Sense of melody.
Yeah, how hard he hit the bass just gives it the most epic sound ever.
That's the thing, though. He meant it, and that comes down to me. It's like I love it when players mean it. They attack their instrument. They don't. There's just that kind of like what's the word? It's kind of like that. I can't think of the exact word I'm looking for. It's kind of like where they don't really care.
Yeah.
It's kind of like reckless abandon.
Yeah.
They just
yeah.
lay into their instrument and they're just like, "Rah!" And Cliff, when you see Cliff play, he's just like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
He just goes for it. And I love that. I always love when there is that reckless abandon on instruments. They're just like, they're not babying it. They're not trying to be like, I don't want to scratch it. They're just literally like, I'm going to play music, and this is what I do, and it's
And
a
you
statement.
can hear that, it comes across in
Yeah.
playing as well.
Yeah.
So to me, that's really important.
Yeah. The confidence level,
Yeah,
and it's just like, yes, that's what it is.
absolutely.
And Cliff just exuded that, just came out of all these pores.
Yeah,
And again,
also not like necessarily a musical thing, but to headbang while playing the stuff he does, is just outrageous.
Yeah, but Cliff, you live on. You are
do.
forever immortal.
And I love that his family carry on his name as well.
Yeah, exactly,
They're
yeah.
just awesome.
Yeah, indeed, it's great. Awesome stuff. Yeah.
Yes, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more like this, let us know. Like and subscribe, please. Do
All
it for
links,
the bass.
Yes, links to stuff down there. Go on, check out Cliff Burton. Isolated bass tracks. Seriously, I love it. When you first showed me Ride the Lightning and the stuff like that on the isolated bass, I was just like, and then like Anesthesia and stuff like that. And,
I'm giving you some homework if you don't already know. So listen to the Damage Inc. intro and you'll hear what I mean.
Definitely.
Listen to the Ride the Lightning isolated bass, Call of Cthulhu, and also be aware that the harmonies you hear in Metallica's guitar solos, they're Cliff.
They're Cliff, yeah, because James and Kirk had no idea how to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
So, shall we play out, Queens?
Yes, let's play out.
Rock out.
See you next time.
See, I threw my plectrum over here.